afternoon. Dwayne here, Dry Creek Wrangler School. Setting out here, it's a little after 7 o'clock in the evening. Still here in Sheridan, Wyoming on the 17th. And we are loving this country out here. I mean, it's just fantastic. So we're going to be here another couple days before we continue on our journey and head home and get ready for the fall classes. But we want to make another video this evening. I've had a lot of requests and a lot of questions about on the wrangling packing lifestyle, about the finances of it and how do you make it work financially and what can one expect. And so I kind of want to address that this evening and see if I can't help a little bit. I'm not a money guy. I'm not a businessman. I've had my struggles over the years. So you need to take whatever you get from me and you need to judge it and get lots of advice and counsel from others. I'm having an Alec Bradley magic toast this evening. Now, those who watch my videos a lot, you'll very rarely see me with an Alec Bradley. Anything by Alec Bradley. Now, they're a great company. They're quality cigars, but it's Honduran, and I just don't have. My palate does not have as high an appreciation for Honduran grown tobacco as it does Dominican or Nicaraguan or whatever. But I wanted to give this a try and see if I like it. And so far, pretty good. But I could tell when I started in, I could taste the Honduran in it. It's not bad. It's just not always my preference. But the only way you learn and grow is if you get outside of your preference zone. Mama behind the camera there, she's got a Fuente, what'd you say? Gran Reserva. And it's a little bitty one. It's so cute. It's adorable. It's like, I don't know, 4 inches. It's a 4 by, I don't know. It's a little one. She says it's really good. She likes it. She's exploring her palate these days. So anyhow, let me just give you some tips, okay, on this lifestyle. And especially, I've had a number of questions from married men with kids. How do you do this with kids? Well, there's some things that you need to understand going into it. Number one, you can't be in debt. All right, you can't be in debt. If you're making credit card payments, if you're making a mortgage payment somewhere, if you've got car payments, 2 or 3 car payments, you can't. This is a different kind of life, and you can't. You need to be financially. You don't have to be financially well off. You don't have to be financially comfortable. But you have to be financially disciplined. You have to be disciplined. Mom and I, for years, raised 7 kids. We had 7 kids, and a lot of what got us through was the ability to say no. Maybe once a month we went out to eat, and maybe it was 2 or 3 months. Okay. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 months before we went out to eat. We didn't go out to eat. My kids didn't get cell phones. All right, they just didn't need a cell phone. Ain't no 12-year-old out there needs a cell phone. All right, I know safety, school, blah, 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 blah. If you have your child in a situation where then your child needs a cell phone to be safe in that situation, this is just Dwayne. Your child shouldn't be in that situation. I don't care what it is, all right? And you don't need 5 or 6 cell phone lines, and you don't need the latest iPhone 12, iPhone 13, unlimited this with all the HBO and Apple Plus and Hulu. You don't need all that. You got to be disciplined. You got to be disciplined in your diet. Not so much your diet, what you eat, but how you shop, the grocery store. There was a long time there we lived on beans and rice. Monday we'd have beans and rice. And Tuesday we'd have rice and beans just to break things up a little bit. Mama cooked. She didn't buy boxes of TV dinners and frozen pizzas and stuff to come in. She didn't do it. She bought food. She bought groceries. She bought simple groceries, and she cooked them. And there we just went through life. The kids, your kids don't need. I see kids these days wearing $100 jeans that already have pre-made holes in them. Okay, you don't need. I don't know what they are these days. $120 pair of Nike shoes to go to school. A kid that's going to outgrow them in 6 weeks. Now, my kids are grown and gone. I don't know what the challenges are today. But you've got to be willing to exercise discipline and to step back and say, look, this is an old-fashioned, simple life. And the only way we're going to do this old-fashioned, simple life is if we do it in an old-fashioned, simple manner. Okay? And so you have to be financially disciplined. Can you make money at this? Now, there's people out there right now who are working this wrangling job and say, no, you can't. I'm making $7 an hour or $8 an hour. It depends on you. You can make a living at this. And if you're willing to sacrifice, it's one of those jobs that you can start out and you're going to get out of it what you put into it. All right. So now I'm going to kind of combine wrangling and packing. All right. But you can start out wrangling and they may pay you $7 an hour in some places and expect you to provide your own housing and your own transportation to come in and work. And, you depend on tips. Well, that's not where it's at. Now, my son is packing for a lodge. He's been at this a while, but he's got another thing going for him. And word got to him he wasn't going to go back to where he was working last year. And so a guy he was working with went to work for this lodge and said, look, they need help, and you need Jesse. Jesse called him, and so I hear you guys are hiring. And they said, how much do you have to have? And he named his price. And they're like, no problem. When can you be here? So, but Jesse's a professional. And Jesse's been doing it for a little while, but he approaches it like a professional. Now, what do I mean by that? I was working on a place. We needed another hand. They said they hired another hand. That other hand came on. He walked on the place. He had his shirt unbuttoned down to here. And he had like 2 big chains around his neck with a giant cross. And a big silver belt buckle that he had not earned. He had not won. And big square-toed Cayman boots. And embroidered whatever, some kind of embroidered jeans. And I didn't know if he was come to wrangle horses or he was trying to get a date with Jason Aldean. I wasn't sure what his deal was. But he came on the place and I looked at him and I said to myself, Self, that clown ain't going to last. About a week. He wasn't serious. He wasn't dressed for it. He wasn't with the right presentation, the right frame of mind. He did not come in and say, this is my job. This is what I do. And I'm going to do it right. I'm what you guys are looking for. It's a frame of mind and it's approach. This is in a lot of circles today. This is going to be a rambling video, okay? So just let's just sit back and just let it run where it will, okay? This is going to be a rambling video, but let's cover this for a minute, all right? Now, I spent 2 years in the highland jungles of Papua New Guinea from 1998 to 2000, okay? I've been in 9 different countries. I spent a month in Botswana, Africa, spent a month in China, all right? I've been to Cambodia, I've been to Thailand, I've been to Laos. I've told you guys all this before. Been through the Philippines, of course, Canada and Mexico. Been a lot of different places. And I've noticed something about, and I read a lot and I study a lot of history, and I've noticed something about cultures and societies. All right, now just hear me out. I'm not poking anybody with a stick. I'm just making a general observation, okay? When I was in New Guinea, in the jungles, they were still jungle people. It was third world, all right? The village we were in, there were still guys that still had the hole in the septum of their nose where they had had a bone in it. Now, the bone had been pulled out, but the hole was still there, all right? You still had people running around in grass skirts. You still had kids and babies running around naked. You had, it was third world. It was society. It was still primitive National Geographic stuff, okay? But they were starting that cycle up. Guys were starting to come back from town with shoes. Now, their feet were about that wide from being barefoot their whole life. The shoes did not fit. The shoes did not have shoestrings in them. And they were dress shoes that had been donated and shipped over from Australia or somewhere. But they were very proud to be wearing shoes. And they had shoes. And they were starting to wear clothes. Now, the clothes it was so funny. You know, I saw a guy come into the village one day, and he was a young man, 25, 26 maybe, probably 5'10", real slender fella. He was really tall for those folks. They were really small folks, but slender, tall. Of course, he had his afro out, and he had on a woman's pink jumpsuit. The old like 1970s, you pull it on and zip it up. And he was so proud, man. He had him a new outfit. I've seen little bitty old grandmothers up there. I'm not going to do a lot of description because somebody will get offended and they'll say I'm being, but have a t-shirt on that says "Kiss Me, I'm Irish," or "Don't hate me because I'm beautiful." I mean, they didn't have a clue, but they were so proud that they had gotten close. They were starting to move up in society. And you go on around, and that comes up. If you want to see how that looks jumping ahead, you go to places like India, okay? Now, if you go to India today, they still, I mean, so many of the men, they wear slacks and dress shirts, and they dress just on the street every day. They dress like we used to do in this country back up until I guess the 1950s. I mean, they take pride and dignity in their, and it was the same in Thailand when we were in Thailand. It's the same way. It goes up. But as society goes up, as that circle goes up, down here you see people start wearing clothes. They stop shoving bones in their nose. They stop getting tattoos and piercings. And then you go up as society goes up and they become affluent and they become educated. They start shoving stuff back in their nose. They start taking their clothes back off. They start running around in flip-flops, and they don't care anymore, and it goes down. It's a big cycle. It's society. If you study it and look around. Now, I don't care if you have tattoos. I'm not speaking against tattoos. I don't care if you have piercings. All right, it's none of my business. unless you're part of the Levitical priesthood. The Bible doesn't say that it's forbidden for you to have tattoos. I'm not saying that. I'm not picking on that. But I'm saying when society cares, it's shown in how they conduct themselves and how they dress and how they package and present themselves. And then when society doesn't care anymore, that shows as well. And so when you show up on a place to get a job, people look at you and they say, he cares, or he doesn't care. So anyhow, you get out of it what you put into it. Now, there were times I needed to be clear on this. This has come up a lot. I need to be clear on here that I haven't wrangled and packed every year for the last 30 years. All right, it's seasonal work, and there's times I've did it, and then times when the season was over, and times when Mama was pregnant, and there were a couple of babies in the house, and things had to be done, and so I had to go get a real job. It didn't change who I was. It didn't change my dream, but I was man enough to make the sacrifices to fulfill the responsibility of a family that I had taken on. But I was dreamer enough to have never lost my dream. So there was times when I would have to go get on a roof and do roofing jobs or do construction and frame houses or get a job on a forklift or get a job working law enforcement in remote native villages in Alaska. And there were times I would come out in between that, and I would get a job wrangling. I would get a job working horses. I would get a job doing, and some of them paid really good, and some of them didn't pay so good. And sometimes the family, some of them, they paid good enough, and things were going good enough that, I would have Deanna and the kids in a house about 50 or 60 mile away from the ranch where I was working, and I could drive back and forth. And there's some ranch work today, they'll if you're a hand enough and you can provide enough value, they'll provide you a 2 or 3 bedroom house and a half a beef every year and pay your utilities and a salary. But you have to determine that you and your wife together have determined that this is the life that you want to live, and you're willing to pay the sacrifices and pay the price it takes to live that life. And you have to have discipline. You have to have discipline. And you have to have a clear vision and a willingness to pay the price. And then you got to be willing to do without. Is what you want worth doing without something else that you want, which is of greater value? Do you have health insurance? No. Do you have a retirement? No. Not a retirement that the company's going to put for you. Do you have 401k? No. Why do you want 401k? How many thousands and thousands of dollars have people lost from their 401k, lost from their retirement? I know people that in a matter of a year, they've lost $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 out of the 401k. Somebody else is investing your retirement for you, and then somebody else has control over it, and then poof, the market crashes and it's gone. Your retirement, if you do it right, is your knowledge and your experience that you gain and the contacts that you make and what you make out of it in the future. All the years that I packed and all the years that I wrangled and all the years that Mama sacrificed and my kids sacrificed, what was my retirement? This Wrangler school. All of this came out of that. Hitchhiking to Idaho to work for an outfitter for an education not getting paid. Picking up cigarette butts in a campground for a bowl of soup and a sandwich while scratching around trying to find a job. Getting a job, and that job being living in a bunkhouse and getting paid $350 a month while my wife and my infant son are staying with her father. Where was my retirement? This is my retirement. We built from that, and we sacrificed and got the experience and the knowledge and the contacts, and now we're moving into our retirement. And our retirement is not setting in a investment account somewhere in the big city with some shark wearing a necktie looking over it, wondering how he could get a piece of it. So go into it. Let's see if I can put this all together. Determine this is what you want to do. If you're married, you and your wife determine this is the life that you want to live. Determine you're willing to pay the price, whatever that price may be. Go into it, start at the bottom, but be a professional, work hard, learn as much as you can, and continue to grow in it. And there is places in this business, and you can make, you're not going to get wealthy off of it, but you can live comfortably. You can eat, you can have your horses and stuff, and just grow up from there. Live the part, look the part, be the part, and ask yourself honestly, if you were running the business, would you hire you? And if your answer is, I'm not sure that I would, then become the you that you would hire. And then just keep plowing. Just keep plowing. So I don't know if there's anything in here that'll help anybody or encourage anybody. One fella asked me, he was going to take a job out west, and was trying to figure out what to do with his young wife and his young children. And so he contacted me, and I said, don't do it. I did it. And it was one of the more unfortunate decisions I made when I was starting out. When you're newly married, you guys are partners. You're partners. And fellas, I don't care how old-fashioned and unpopular this is to date, you vow to be there for her. All right? And I didn't do that a lot, and it's one of the things that I actually regret. And you guys do this together. Do it together. All right? And God bless you and Godspeed. I encourage you in the pursuit of your dreams. Just take the right road to do it. All right? So anyhow, as a rambling, goofy video, this might be kind of I don't know how this will do, but anyhow, love you guys, appreciate it, and I've got all of you in my heart, and especially you young people that are trying to get out of this rat race and this spider web that society has woven, and anything I can do to help. And I appreciate all the feedback. And the last video we did 4 days ago, we were at 74,000 and some odd subs. We're on our way to 76. We've already blown through 75,500 and some. I don't know. It's just amazing. And so we appreciate it. I want to tell you again, we do have the Patreon account for those who want to support what we're trying to do. And so if you want to go visit that, and we appreciate it. And so this is Dwayne, and we'll catch you guys later.